Okay, so good morning, everyone. So we are live with the Alumni Session 3, and I'm Urvi Das, serving as the training secretary for this tenure. And today we have with us on board Prachuit Priyadarshi Sahoo, who is a 2025 undergraduate and an alumnus of Electrical Engineering Department. He's currently working as an Associate Vantage at BCG, and throughout the session, he'll be sharing his experiences and insights on how he secured both on campus and off campus opportunities. And we would definitely get to unfold new things about him as we progress through the session. So it would be really good if you could start with a brief introduction of yourself, and then we can proceed to the rest of the session.
So, hi everyone, myself Prachuit Priyadarshi Sahoo. I'm a recent grad from Electrical Engineering batch of 2025 from NIT Rourkela, and currently I'm working as a associate in the Vantage part of BCG, which is basically the expert consulting track in BCG. And at the same time, I did my internship at Nation with NaMo as an associate consultant intern under the Graduate Impact Leadership Program, and eventually I was able to convert into a PPO. And giving certain background from the college as far as my 4 years is concerned, I did a live project at the same time with a startup in the gaming domain, particularly foraying into the domain of mathematics. And along with that, I worked on a research project which eventually turned out to be a paper in the domain of computer vision. And at the same time, I was also a part of training committee as these folks, and I was also the innovation convener back then, and I did hold up multiple position of responsibilities across various years while I was in college. Yeah, that would be all from my end.
Okay, so talking about this domain in specific, our very first question would be like looking back at your college journey. What initially drew you towards this analytics and consulting domain, and how did that interest evolve over time?
To be very honest, like when we talk about the 4 years starting in the first year itself, I was not very sure if I want to go into consulting, but there was this thing in my mind, back of my mind, that I want to foray into something where it's more about problem solving than just, coding and doing things the way people do generally in technical colleges. So I started off eventually in the rat race only, that I will do coding and know more about those stuff. But after starting with DS and completing it, I did not like it as much. People to take it up as a passion. So eventually I shifted my track to electronics, and over there also, the only thing is we do get two companies, and I was very hell-bent on getting an intern and getting an industrial exposure. So after that, there were multiple opportunities which came up, and within the first 3 4 opportunities which came in the domain of core as well as consulting, or let's say supply chain, this was one of them where I was able to crack it. And I guess it was not already pre-decided that I want to go into this, but I did have a mindset that if I want to do something, I'll do something good that comes up in my line, not something which is a secondary option for me. So that is where I think this all happened, and eventually I understood what the industry is about in this particular domain, and I was able to follow it up and do it further. Yeah.
Okay, so like with this mindset that you want to pursue a career in this particular domain, so which core skills, like be it technical, analytical, or problem solving, did you consciously focus on or develop during college? And what would you advise people like who are preparing for the placement or the internship drives in this current scenario?
So first thing I would say, if any domain you are going, first thing you should keep in mind that CGPA is quite important. Having a 8 plus CGPA is great, and 8.5 definitely keeps you in the cream layer and helps you get better opportunities. At the same time, for domains like non-tech specifically, because people generally take consulting and analytics to be the only domain present, but there are other domains which look into similar sort of profiles in, like whether it's a managerial positions or business analyst or supply chain management or let's say product management. These are the different career tracks you can have in non-tech as a whole. So for this, at the same time, along with CGPA, you do need to have certain extracurricular activities to showcase that it's not that you were just focused on academics, but at the same time you did certain other things, which shows that you can work in very high pressure environments. Because when you are working in a domain which is non-tech, let's say product or let's say supply chain, you are basically helping the business units to grow in the industry. You are driving the revenue, you are forecasting the market analysis, and a lot of stake is on you. So basically this combination of CGPA with a PORs does show that you are able to handle high pressure situations. And for you as an undergrad, this is the best possible scenario to showcase that. So along with that, I would say for foraying into this particular domain, you have to start with understanding the various tools which are generally recommended. Firstly, I would say why I'm saying it to be tools rather than score skill sets, because eventually these are the tools where you try to understand the data that you have collected, or let's say the already input you have with you for understanding your problem statements. So for firstly, you need to know Excel. Secondly, Excel to the level of advanced Excel where you can write macros queries, and at the same time, you need to know SQL. In SQL also, I think it's better to have an idea till the level of queries, and it's not just in the domain of non-tech as in analytics or consulting or product, but SQL does help in the field of software engineering, where you do have the part where it's about DBMS, database management systems. Over there also many SQL related questions are asked, so that does help. And thirdly, you can have an idea about different visualization tools. It's not necessary to know all of them, but one of them will be great. Like either you can learn Power BI by Microsoft, or you can learn Tableau. And moving forward, there are various workflow management tools that can help you get insights. So one would be Zira, and another one would be Alteryx. These are later on, and while you are doing this, at the same time, you can take up certain courses on ML and foraying into ML, and eventually you can do deep learning and then learn LLMs. These are not something which are used on a day-to-day basis, but these are certain tools which can be leveraged into solving your problems better. Companies in the non-tech domain do not want you to, get a very good idea of all these. But if you're having this skill set, then eventually this shows that you will be able to solve certain problems which are coming in those domains. That is one thing. And at the same time, it's very much necessary that you are looking into the qualitative part of it, since these are the tools which help you in quantifying the data. And eventually you need to have certain skills which will help you in generating insights from the data sets that you have. So for that, you need to have the problem solving, and for being able to be a good problem solver, you need to be good with the guesstimates, or let's say the case studies that we do, or the product breakdowns that you do. So, and at the same time, you need to have certain industrial relevant experience also, because generally what people notice is that for going into non-tech domains, you generally need to have certain set of experience. So if you are foraying into that domain, then in that case you need to have prior experience so that you can fast track your career into this domain. Because generally what people do is they are in tech domain, or let's say the core domains, and they eventually do a MBA to shift to this. That is not necessarily required, but in case you have internships, or let's say expertise across various industries, then eventually you will be able to go into consulting, or let's say product, because you have an idea about how that particular industry works. So for guesstimates, I would say the IIM Ahmedabad casebook is a good thing to start. and Victor Chang case solving YouTube lectures does help. And at the same time, the FMS casebook also helps for various understanding of various frameworks that you have. And while you're doing this, you will eventually understand that there are many ways of problem solving: the top to bottom approach, or the bottom to top approach, which is the pyramid or the funnel uh, way of working. And at the same time, there are certain other things which you can look into is, as I mentioned, internships in different domains. Even core internships can help over here, because that gives you idea about how the market works. So let's say if you want to eventually go into the non-tech domain and you have an internship in supply chain, that does help, because there are consulting firms which work in the domain of supply chain, like Maybach Consulting and all. And at the same time, I would say there is another catch to this, that in our institute, the number of opportunities coming for these specific roles are less. And even the ones which are coming, they do not hire in good numbers, considering people put it as a secondary option, not as a primary one. So that leads to the number of conversions as a full-time offer as very less. So if you are setting up that eventually you want to have a career in this particular domain, so you need to try getting more and more experience in the form of internships, or collaborations in the form of live projects, or in the form of research papers. These does help a lot in the long run.
Okay, so technically, CGPA, PORs, or extracurriculars and visualization tools are few of the major aspects that we need to focus on while building up
Yeah,
those
and at
specific.
the same time, I would say the guesstimates, or the product breakdowns, or the live projects, and the case studies that you do.
So, keeping all this in mind, how did you shape your resume to reflect a consulting oriented profile, especially when transitioning from internship roles to firms like BCG or in the internship period as well?
I can give you a gist about how it happened. So initially, while I was looking for the internships during the internship period, it started with, I guess I got shortlisted in 3, 4 companies which were in the non-tech, and each one of them had the similar requirements as far as the skill set is required, because over there it needs to be problem solving, and at the same time you need to know these tools. But coming to the projects, it needs to be certain things related to case studies, or certain things related to how you understand a particular industry, where you have published industry reports or something like that. And other things which helped me was, back then my CGPA was around 8.5, so getting a shortlist was comparatively easier. Along with that, I had those PORs which helped me showcase that I am a person who can take up various roles which are ambiguous in nature, irrespective of the fact that whether I know or have experience in those domains. So these did help, and eventually I did take up certain certification and certain courses also during my second year and third year, which did help. Like you might be knowing that you get certain electives in your second year regarding economics or financial markets. So those, as a subject, does help you in understanding certain things which generally people do not have idea about, and it's not like you can just get it in one day, but you need to understand them beforehand. So those things I put up in my coursework, so I guess that helps. And at the same time, I took up certain Coursera courses which were relating to financial markets and risk derivatives, and at the same time about fundamentals of supply chain, because there were companies which came in the domain of supply chain and required business understanding of their industry.
Okay, so now, like shifting from the resume things, the things we need over there, like were there any specific resources, books, courses, case platforms, or peer groups that generally helped you during your preparation and in the resume building thing as well?
I
Like it.
guess I mentioned them, all of them already, that these are the tools, or these are the, let's say, courses you can go through. But yeah, reiterating, coming to the tools, I think the requirements are very clear over here. You need to know, like, ML. You need to know certain things about analytics, as in the form of visualization tool, Excel, PowerPoint, and Alteryx. These are the Alteryx and all are a little higher level. You can just skip it for timing in. You can know with the process, as in when you go towards the placement. And I think even core internships do help. So over there, that comes. And as you mentioned about resources, I would say in resources, you don't have to really look into a specific one. You can just go for anything that actually helps you understand, because I might understand from somewhere which starts at a bit advanced level because I have prior experience. You might need it somewhere where it goes from the ABCDs of that particular tool. So choose according to which fits best your way of preparation. And at the same time, I think one more thing I would like to add over here is I just forgot. Well, I'll just reiterate sometime else when I just recollect that one. But
Yeah.
this would be all like for the preparation. I think other than that, you don't require anything else.
Okay, so now coming into the internships that you have secured, like your internship at Nation with NaMo is definitely considered highly impactful. So could you just walk us through what the selection process was like and few suggestions that you would share with the people for cracking interviews who are currently aiming for placements or internships?
So, first thing, as I mentioned, it's a resume shortlisting in Nation with Namo, so that does help. And over there, it's very important that you have the CGPA and everything. So that is the first part. And once you're shortlisted, and generally, the shortlisting is done like 5 to 6 people at max, and generally from our colleges, the NITs, I would say the top 3 4 NITs where they visit, the selection is one or none. And there are like 3 to 4 rounds of interviews, and each having a similar pattern. It's just the seniority of position or the stakeholders who are interviewing you just changes. And another thing to keep in mind is when it comes to Nation with Namo, it does on a cohort basis. Like, let's say they have the interviews lined up for everyone across all the institutes, and generally the competitor institutes for you over here would be NIT, the top other two, three NITs, and all the top IITs and the top DU colleges. So let's say if in the cohort they want to take a batch of 50 people. So in case and they're interviewing about 100 people, you need to be in the top 50 across all three of your rounds to ensure that you get a internship offer letter from them. And I guess it is true even in the other roles as well, because this happen the entire internship or placement process happen in batches. If they don't think that you are good enough compared to your other batchmates across other colleges who are passing in the same year, you might not get the similar opportunity over there. So starting with the like interview part. So in interviews, basically they will be doing civic grilling. In civic grilling, they will basically look into your experience, how it aligns with their particular like work they do, and how you can be a impactful player over there. So for that to happen, you need to have solid communication. It's not like you need to speak a lot. You need to be precise and at the same time to the point about what you want to communicate. So yes, another point is your speaking skills and communication needs to be top notch to be able to crack such roles, because eventually you will be dealing with people who need to understand either in layman terms or in very technical or advanced way of communication. So you need to amp up your communication or lower it down based on the stakeholder you're dealing with. So this is very important. And in the interview process is broken down into three parts, I would say. And it is generally common across all the consulting firms, or let's say all the product firms. So first you start with the CV part where they do the grilling. The second part is a guesstimate, and the third part is a case study which is done. And I would say in some cases the guesstimate and case study are intertwined. And the third part is generally the scenario based questions which help them understand how are you as an individual, and how you take up different teamwork or individualistic task, and how do you portray and give your outputs. And for the case part, I would say I think that is somewhere many people lag. They just directly jump down to the problem, but it's more about understanding and thinking out loud as a team player. You can ask questions from your end. People do not take it as a negative thing. Rather, they would understand that, yeah, this guy is trying to make an effort to understand the problem statement and find out different nuances which were first lying in the gray area. So over there, you find out the caveats, and based on the caveats, you try to ask questions, and you refine your problem statement better. Once the problem statement is refined better, you go into the analysis part, where basically right now I would say from the internship perspective, or people who do not have experience should start with a bottom to top approach, or say, let's say, the funnel approach, because first you try to collate all the thoughts that you have as in brainstorm and have all the ideas, then put it into buckets, and then make the pyramid. If you go from top to down approach, it's generally preferred that you have certain experience, because you might miss out certain points over there. So it's better to have all the scattered ideas first stored, and then bucket it out according to the requirements and classify accordingly. So once you are done with the root cause analysis of the problems, then like once that is done, you will be having cross questions over there, like why did you do this, why not that. So in those situations, you need to be able to use the data that you have collated through brainstorming into particular insights, or synthesize the data. So that is very important in consulting or product or supply chain, because that is what the business wants to solve. It's not the collation of data that they are looking and paying you a salary for the same. So that is very important, and even in guesstimate the approach is same. It's just that that is a quantitative part, and the case study is the qualitative part of a case. I guess that is all. And the thing is, the first interview was taken up by a senior associate. The third interview was taken, sorry, second interview was taken by a consultant. Then it was taken by a project leader or a partner. So this is something which was similar to my interview in BCG, as well as certain other firms where I had an interview process.
Okay, so continuing in this aspect, the followed up question that we have is like, what were the most important learnings from your internship, and at that were useful in converting your offer into a full time offer at NaMo, and later helped you in consulting interviews or at BCG as well.
So I think in NaMo is a very lucrative offer, to be very honest, because they give you a 5-star accommodation and everything, just to make people aware about how the internships is. So, and internship and the placement scenario in a nation with NaMo is quite different. While you are interning, you generally work on governance and policy related problems across various ministries which are under Prime Minister's office. So the problem statement originates from there, and the stakeholders are particular clients from those organizations, some bureaucrats or secretaries who are in higher level positions. And when you are working as a full time employee in Nation with NaMo, you generally work in the political domain, basically working in the uh, like elections, at assembly elections or the national level elections. Over there also, it does feel that you are actually looking for collecting votes, but it's not like that. When you are actually collecting votes, eventually that is the motive, and that is what they want, that they want to win. But for that to happen, the person who is a consultant over there, they want to understand what the problems are and what are the recommendations that can be put forth to make sure that people are voting. And for that to happen, you need to have understanding about the various problems, and based on the problems, you are synthesizing the solutions, and the solutions over a period of time, because phase wise implementation of those problems are also quite important. So you do that over there. So it's more towards the political side in the placements, and in interns it's just the problem solving and more impact consulting that you do for the governance or the policies. So the learnings that I had in Nation with NaMo would be that during those 2 months also, we do have a 2 weeks of session where they help you understand various business frameworks and everything, starting with Excel, and they do give a session about ML also. And they also try to understand what your political standing is, how what is your understanding about various problems which is happening. And it's not like they give you problems which are very straightforward or simple in nature, very business oriented. The problems are huge. Like some of the problem statements that we faced were like, how can India Post be made profitable again, just like BPCL or the other Maharatna companies? So this was one of the problem statement. My statement was very ambiguous in nature. It was about how to reduce Delhi air quality index to the World Health Organization levels by 2030, which in itself did not have any data available, and the market was completely scattered. So I think over there, working in a completely ambiguous domain and having just 2 months to able to come up with recommendations was tough. But eventually we understood how to curate the right data, the credible sources from where we need to take, and from there able to make certain frameworks on our own, like business frameworks, the phase out making frameworks, like pipelining of various solutions that we give. Because eventually you cannot have all the solutions in one go. You have to put it in a proper curated manner, that yeah, this is how we have to put it forward, like in the first 2 years like this, for the next 4 years like that, and then eventually moving on to have the impact of the recommendations that we put. So synthesizing of data was very important. And eventually, since the clients do not have a very technical understanding about the solutions, so putting up in layman terms, as I mentioned, that depending on the client also, you have to, balance out the way you communicate your recommendations. So that is something I learned. And at the same time, team communication and working in a team, because eventually it was not an individual effort but a group of 5 people we were working, and everyone was from different background. So my team was, one of them was from SRCC, one was from IIT Bombay, and another one was from NLU Delhi. So other than that, it was my manager. So we all were working together, and in this, the problem was that some people do not have the technical understanding, some people do not have the, the legal understanding of the problems that we might land up into after putting forward our solutions. So everyone had to learn everything from each other, and people were from commerce background also. So we had to understand what are the accounting or the profit loss when we are doing certain business analysis. So those aspects also were something which we learned. And overall, this did help me in building a business acumen about whatever I'm doing right now. But eventually, I think since my domain of work was towards energy, towards social impact, transport infrastructures and cities, and at the same time about public sector. So eventually, the and even operations at some point, these were the different practice areas where we were working, like cross functional practice areas eventually. So we were able to this helped me into getting into interviews at McKinsey and at BCG, because they also wanted to hire in similar domains. Because right now the track I am in, as I mentioned earlier, is expert consulting. So you specialize in these domains and you work in these domains only. So I guess that eventually shaped my entire career. Yeah, and many people who have worked in that firm.
Okay, so as we know that you have your hands-on experience in cracking both on-campus and off-campus opportunities, like besides the core skills, there must be some strategies that you must be personally using, or that you feel that the entire all the people must know in order to crack off-campus opportunities. So it will be really good if you list down few of them for all the people who are targeting off-campus offers or placements in this current scenario.
To be very honest, when you are foraying into the domain of non-tech, you should go with a mindset that yes, I want to crack off campus only, considering the number of opportunities are very less compared to the IITs. Only thing, because I would say, is why it is less is the culture is not there. Like, you see the coding club doing very well, it's been there since like 10, 15 years, but the consulting club and stuff like that came recently, and people have taken an effort. Some of them were able to bring live projects, and that does help a lot because you understand the business scenario and how to, understand the consumer behaviors and everything through taking up live projects at the college level itself, which generally is not possible. And this is how you should, that in case even if you do not have any peer group or something, try finding out like-minded people where there are community channels over there. So over there, try gathering people who work, who want to work in the similar domain, and then start working in different opportunities that comes your way. Even if it does not come your way, you can focus on exploring various startups also. Like, I am right now not directly jumping into like how you can crack your off campus, because it is very important that you have a solid resume to first be able to get a short list. So first thing you would be as I mentioned, like, look for different startups where you think that there is a problem and you would be able to solve it. So find the startup, do your analysis, and get a proper problem statement and solve it, and then pitch it to the startup founder. Maybe they want to work with you further. If they don't, it's a good point for you also in another way, that you can put it up as your project, that you did a product analysis of a startup and these are the recommendations you put up. This is how people across IITs work. And at the same time, another point you can look into is there are different fellowship programs, which even I took up during my undergraduation, which is Next Leap Fellowship. Many folks from IITs and BITS do take it up because you get an understanding of product and you get your hands dirty across various good problem statements. And eventually, if you are a top scorer over there, you do get placement assistance from there as well. And other than that, I think you need to be very particular about how you play in LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn game should be top notch, and these are the things which eventually will help you in at least getting one or two shortlists. Because I think people in our college have this issue also, that they do not have a particular idea about what companies are there in a particular industry, which I think people need to be industry aware from second year itself. Because the you might think that, yeah, maybe in the fourth year I would be able to convert this company or that company, but eventually if you do not have an idea about what companies do visit us and how are your peers across various colleges are playing out, then it will become difficult. So understanding that, yeah, these are the companies, in these companies I need to have a look in their career portals is very important. Because to be very honest, in my off campus opportunities, like, I applied in 5 6, and I was able to get a interview offer from at least five of them. So I don't think I took a referral, because I think referral does help you in getting an interview, but it does not help you in cracking one. Because if a HR has to select you, nonetheless, without an referral also, they will select you. And for that to happen, you need to have a solid understanding about your particular industry. And more than that, you need to look into opportunities which come your way through LinkedIn. So you need to have your LinkedIn very good. Because if you see in our college, generally people start making their LinkedIn better in their fourth years. But if you see your counterparts in IITs, they start making it in second year. They start becoming preachers also in LinkedIn, which does help them in getting communication, and at the same time people commenting very insightful comments and stuff like that. And eventually those are folks who can hire you because they are at very senior positions. So networking is very important, and this helps a lot.
Okay, so coming into the case competitions part now, like we all know
Yeah,
that
and sorry, I missed that part. Yeah.
yeah, like consulting firms value structured thinking or structured problem solving. So how did you work on case solving competitions, data interpretations, business storytelling during your preparation phase, and how would you like motivate other people to be a part of it or guide them to effectively prepare for case competition, especially the first timers like who are really scared into getting their hands on
To be
competitions or
to
something.
be very honest, like, I don't think people need to be scared. They just need to go to Unstop, make a ID, and initially it starts with people just registering and not going and doing the work. But eventually, you need to start doing that work, and the first project will be very bad. Like it's really like not worth even showing to your parents. It's that bad, but eventually you can learn and do better in that domain. So like, and I think now since you have Gen AI as a tool to leverage, so that does help you in getting sources and resources to have the reference point from where you need to start. And to be very honest, that is something where I think my CV was lagging, considering I did not have anyone in my batch to have a team and go for case competitions. And people generally started doing it in fourth year, which is not something people do. So many of my people, co-interns from NaMo, they had like 15 to 20 case competitions that they have won. So that does showcase that you can put up in your achievement section. So yes, case competitions are very important. And for that, initially you have to start with something. It's not like you get a hold of it or knack of it in the first day itself. You just need to begin with it, and there are clubs specifically mentioned made for that reason, that yeah, you get a cohort, you get a batch of people who are interested in similar domain, at least if not interested in similar domain, at least interested in solving the problem out for you. So you just need to explore those opportunities, and once done, that can be showcased in your CV. Yes.
Okay, so like in my opinion, the next aspect would be mistakes would be a very big aspect of like building a career in a particular domain. So based on your own journey, what common mistakes do you see students making during placement preparation or throughout the corporate journey, or what would be your advice to them to avoid or like to not make those mistakes in their initial journey?
Like I would reiterate again that generally people do not have a industry they are going into. Like let's say if people are going into a role of planning analyst in leisures, for example. So in that case also people might think that yeah, I'll be working in supply chain, but it's not supply chain. They need to understand what a particular industry is. And in our college, the very way of putting it out, that we just have the three main domains, that analytics and consulting, core, and software, does put up a very wrong idea about what the industries can be. If you look at various brochures across colleges, or let's say the consulting firms which actually work in the domain of different industry practice areas, there are like 20 plus industries, and there are like 15 plus functional industries also. Like by industries I mean the core industries, as in like let's say the different branches that we have. Based on that, the industry bifurcation that we have. By functional I mean various business related industrial practices that people do. So it is very important that people understand that this is what I want to do in the long run. So that is where people are missing. And secondly, people do not have an idea about how to go forward with the placement. They just sit there to get a job. It's not like they want to do something like, yeah, this is what I want to see. Like it's very important to understand that when people ask that, where do you see yourself in 5 years, as an interviewer's question, it's not about like they are judging you, like if you are trying to do an MBA or what you want to do. They want you to have a clear thought process, clear idea, and clear paths laid down for you in your mind itself, that where you want to go forward. Because if that does not align with your current role, that if that does not align with what you want to do or what the company is going to hire you for, then they don't see a purpose of hiring. So that is very important, that you have a goal set up, some short term goals and some long term goals, particularly to your domain. Many people start with software, then they jump into MBAs. And if you see, they join like MBAs and then they go into consulting for after that. So it is after 3 years or so, because they wanted to explore and they were very clear about what they were doing. So it is very important that you have a like conscience clear that yeah, this is something you want to do ahead. And for that to happen, it is very important that you start exploring in your second year itself. Like first year is about building foundation, second year is about exploring, third year is about choosing that yes, this is what I want to do and I don't want to foray into something else. And fourth year is about getting the sixer basically out of boundary. So that is how you have to go ahead.
Okay, so like besides the skills, the networking that you talked about, the case
Hmm.
competitions that we talked about, like there are people who would require motivation to be consistent and stay motivated during the long preparation phases. So, like what daily habits or routines helped you to stay consistent or motivated, especially while balancing academics and internships?
To be very honest, just enjoy your college life. Don't stress out about so many things. But at the same time, by balancing, it means like people might say, yeah, focus on academics or focus on this. But what is the crisp of it? Like, let's say if you want to focus on academics, but at the same time have fun. Because to be very honest, I'm a person who had the most fun in my college life. Like, I did everything possible. I don't think there is anything else that a person can do other than this. So like I touched upon almost every domain. So I would say in this case, if you think you want to maintain a good CGPA, or maybe let's say you want to code, or maybe you want to do certain things where you are a better person than what you were yesterday. So first thing, to make sure that your CGPA and everything is not bad, just go and sit in your class and just listen to the lecture and just come back. That solves half of your problem. You don't have to go back and see a lot of lectures in YouTube for no reason. To be very honest, I didn't see a lot of lectures. I just saw when the paper was a bit difficult. Otherwise, I just went to class. Even if I'm not listening, I'm just sitting doing nothing else, so that at least something is going into my brain. So that is the first thing. Secondly, there's a very strong quote from the Japanese way of working, that at least if you are finding your attention span to be less, or let's say you are not able to put up a lot of focus to what you want to achieve, start with one thing. In case you want to build a body, then start with one push up daily, then start compounding it. So similarly, start with one problem solving. Like if you are coding, then start with one problem and then start compounding it. Eventually you will start having a habit of it, and that works in all the domains, I guess. So that is how I think you can build your proficiency in whatever you are doing.
Okay, so this session particularly have people from second or third year. And
Yeah.
so since we have almost reached the end of the questions, so it would be really good if you could just down a few generalized suggestions for those like who want to get into consulting roles, and how would they start their preparation from second year itself, like just briefly into in few points.
Briefly, like first thing, do a lot of case competitions. That does not generally mean that you will be foraying into certain domains. So that gives an idea about where you want to be. So that is the first one. Secondly, have a bit of technical expertise. Do a problem solving in the intersection of strategy with ML. And the third would be just enjoy your journey. Don't have to take so much stress. You are in a good college. Eventually, if you are looking into like placements, you will get it. But if you are not looking into placements and you want something very particular in your domain, like I wanted, so make your LinkedIn very good. And once you're done with that, you will eventually be able to get offers. There are many examples in our batch who were able to crack a lot of good stuff.
Okay, so we have reached the end of questions, and we can start with the Q&A round now. So anyone who is having any questions that needs to be answered, put your or drop your questions in the comment section, and that can be put over here, and he'll be answering the questions. So the window is open for all the questions.
If there are no questions, then we can just drop off.
Yeah, we have. They are just dropping questions. Uh, so.
What's the
how to
question?
get a live project, and it's displayed on the screen.
Okay, so basically, live projects for that, generally you should be able to have a team, I would say. You should be able to look through various founders of various startups. In case you do not have any idea, like I can pitch in, like if you want to have a contact, you can contact me through LinkedIn. So I will be able to help you there. But there is a club also where you can actually get your hands dirty. There are many folks who do bring in live projects and you can work over there. So that is how you can do it. For the Coursera data analysis, I did for the Google one. You can also go for the IBM data analysis. And more than that, I think the Udemy courses are quite like extensive in nature. Actually, you learn something out of there. The Power BI Udemy course and the uh, Excel Udemy course and the supply chain Udemy course are actually better because Coursera has 2 to 3 minutes of video, which is not that great. But I think you should go with the Udemy ones first instead of going for Coursera because it does not actually help you in getting a better idea about industry. But for Coursera, you can go for the ML courses by Stanford University. Those are really great. And I would like to reiterate one thing that there are various kinds of consulting that you can know about. There are strategy consulting firms, there are pharma consulting firms, there are impact consulting firms. So you need to have an idea like where you want to deep dive into. There are supply chain consulting. There are like various consulting which work in a particular domain. This I wanted to share it, but I forgot. So you need to have an understanding where your particular interest is because consulting is not always about business consulting. It can go from anywhere to A to Z, like anything in the world. You can do anything, any sort of consulting. So there are firms relating to everything across. So you have to understand where your passion lies, and accordingly you can go ahead. What was the question, by the way, asked by
Yeah.
Achyut? How was your journey from policy-driven organization? Well, the experience was good. I think right now the kind of projects that I'm doing are more related to the financial institutions and let's say energy domain. But more or less, I think the transition has been quite fruitful, and I'm looking forward what else is there in this domain that I can do. Like, to be honest, there are stack of problem statements that generally comes our way, looking to explore what else are there and what else I can solve and eventually make a great career out of it. And I'm a big fan of yours too, Achyut. Considering Achyut also has a very good supply chain experience and he is a great guide also.
Yeah. Any more
Yes.
questions, guys? You can drop your questions in the comment box.
And even I would say people who are doing post graduations also, even for them, consulting is a very good opportunity because consulting does look into, and prefers also the people who have higher degrees or advanced degrees because you do have a sector expertise that generally the undergraduate people do not have. So that does help in getting into good consulting firms. Only thing is you have to look for those companies and for that again you need to have an idea about what the industry you want and where you yeah I did do CP but I generally didn't like doing it but yeah I did ML and more than ML it was about deep learning yeah.
Okay, there is one more question.
Yeah.
No, there are many more questions. Uh, yeah.
Do companies evaluate a project based on how unique it is and what the candidate actually learned? Well, they do evaluate based on that. I mean, basically, when I say like they do evaluate, that is based on yeah. They basically evaluate based on like the impact you drive through the project. It's not basically which domain it is, but it's completely on how much impact you have created in terms of percentage increase, decrease, or like the different matrix that you have eventually laid out. So that is very important. And it's not important that what you learned, because you were able to solve and come to a conclusion because you had certain idea about it.
Okay, we'll be taking one or two more questions, guys. So please drop your questions as soon as possible. Okay. So most of the questions have been answered, I guess. So thank you so much, Prachut, for this insightful session. Like it was really nice having you over here, and it was a really great experience for all the second and third years who have been attending the session. And I'm sure they'll definitely go back with some major ideas or major insights that would definitely help them in their future in building a career in this particular domain. So, anything that you would like to say about the session?
And it was good that you guys had me over here, and like all the best for everyone who joined and didn't join and want to do something in their career. Like best of luck to them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are done with the alumni session three, guys. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. And yeah.